My dear students, welcome to chemistry class. In this video, we are going to discuss about the applications of heat of combustions. Applications of heat of combustions. So there are different applications. First one is calculation of heat of formations. So by using this heat of combustion, we can calculate the heat of formation. So first one is heat of calculation of heat of formation. Heat of formation, that formula is, that is we can calculate the standard enthalpy formation delta HF0. So the standard enthalpy formation we can easily calculate by using this heat of combustions. Second application is calculation of calorific value. Calculation of calorific value. Of food and fuels. Food and fuels. So generally the calorific value is defined as, the amount of heat. So the amount of, it is defined as the amount of heat is produced in calories, or joules when 1 gram of the substance is completely burnt. So the SI unit of this calorific value is joule kilogram power minus 1. However, it is usually expressed in calories gram power minus 1. Okay. So calorific value of food or fuels. Here, what is meant by calorific value? The amount of heat produced in calories or joules when 1 gram of the substance is completely burned. So take 1 gram of the substance and completely burn it. So we will get the calorific value. The SI unit of this calorific value is joule kilogram power minus 1 or calories kilogram minus 1. Okay. Now third application, that is heat of neutralization. Heat of solution. Heat of solution. Heat of solution usually observed when a substance dissolved in a solvent. So dissolved in a solvent. Okay. So take some substance and dissolve in a solvent. So that time heat will be produced. So we can observe and we can calculate. The heat of solution is defined as the change in enthalpy. The change in enthalpy when 1 mole of a substance is dissolved in a specified quantity of a solvent at a given temperature. Okay. So the heat of solution we can define as the change in enthalpy when 1 mole of substance is dissolved in specified quantity of solvent at a given temperature. Okay. Fourth one is heat of neutralization. First of all, we already know that neutralization. What is meant by neutralization? When an acid add with base, we will get salt and water. So this is called neutralization reaction. So what is mean by heat of neutralization? The heat of neutralization is defined as, here also, the change in enthalpy. Change in enthalpy when 1 gram equivalent of an acid, 1 gram equivalent of an acid is completely neutralized by 1 gram equivalent of a base or vice versa in dilute solution. Vice versa in dilute solution. Vice versa means here the change in enthalpy when 1 gram equivalent of an acid is completely neutralized by 1 gram equivalent of a base. Similarly, the change in enthalpy when 1 gram equivalent of a base is completely neutralized by 1 gram equivalent of acid in dilute solution is called heat of neutralization. Generally, acid, we can take hydrochloric acid. It is an aqueous solution plus NaOH aqueous. We will get NaCl. This is aqueous plus H2O, that is liquid. Here we will get the delta H value equal to minus 57.32 kilojoules. Okay. So likewise, we can write the HCl aqueous. Here we are taking, instead of NaOH, we are taking KOH aqueous. We are getting KCl aqueous plus H2O liquid. Okay. Here also delta H value is equal to minus 57.32 kilojoule. Okay. So here instead of HCl, we are taking the acid nitric acid KNO3. It is in aqueous form plus KOH. Also aqueous gives, we will get KNO3. Sorry, here HNO3. Okay. KNO3 aqueous plus H2O liquid. Here also the delta H value will be minus 57.32 kilojoule. So we can summarize all the equations in ionic form. We will get H plus. So acid we are writing H plus, then base OH minus aqueous. Finally, because liquid, solid and gas we cannot split, so you will get H2O. H2O, that is total, it will be liquid. So we are getting the value delta H equal to minus 57.32 kilojoule. Okay. So the reason for this can be explained on the basis of Arrhenius theory. So when Arrhenius theory, so this Arrhenius theory is completely explained the reason of this neutralization. Okay. Arrhenius theory. Okay. So theory of acids and bases, which states that strong acid and strong bases completely ionizes in aqueous solution to produce H plus and OH minus ion. So this is strong case. Okay, when strong acid and strong base, when they dissolve in water, it will completely ionized. Weak acid and weak base, it will not completely ionized. Instead, it will ionize partially. So that is the reason. Okay. Next one is fifth one, molar heat of fusion. molar heat of fusion. So now we are studying all about the applications of heat of combustions. So the molar heat of fusion is defined as the change in enthalpy, the change in enthalpy when 1 mole of a solid substance is converted into the liquid state. The liquid state at its melting point. At its melting point. See, fusion means melting. Fusion means melting. Fusion equal melting. So melting means solid to liquid. The conversion of solid into liquid is called melting. So molar heat of fusion, that means the change in enthalpy when 1 mole of solid substance is converted into the liquid state at its melting point. For example, the heat of fusion of ice is represented as H2O solid. Then melting point is, that is 0 degree Celsius. 0 degree Celsius we can write 273 Kelvin. Then we are getting H2O in liquid, and delta H fusion, that is delta H fusion equal plus 5.98 kilojoule, right? So this is called molar heat of fusion. Next one is molar heat of vaporization. Next one is molar heat of vaporization. Molar heat of vaporization, it means, so vapor means liquid to gas. So the change in enthalpy when 1 mole of liquid is converted into vapor state, at its boiling point. So here the change in enthalpy when 1 mole of liquid is converted into vapor at its boiling point. Example, vaporization of water can be represented H2O liquid 373 Kelvin, because water is boiling at 100 degrees Celsius. So 373 Kelvin. So H2O vapor and delta H vaporization equal plus 40.2626 Kelvin. Okay. Next one is molar heat of sublimation. Molar heat of sublimation. What is the meaning of sublimation? So the direct change of solid into gas or gas into solid is called sublimation. Okay. So the change in enthalpy, we can define the molar heat of sublimation. The change in enthalpy when 1 mole of a solid is directly converted into the vapor state at its sublimation temperature. Okay, so this is known as molar heat of sublimation. So it can be defined as the change in enthalpy when 1 mole of solid is directly converted into the vapor state at its sublimation temperature. For example, of the heat of sublimation of iodine solid 373 Kelvin. So iodine vapor delta H sublimation equal plus 62.42 kilojoules. Okay, so this is molar heat of sublimation. Now heat of transition. Next application is heat of transition. So heat of transition is defined as the change in enthalpy, the change in enthalpy when 1 mole of an element changes from one of its allotropic form to another. Okay, so the change in enthalpy when 1 mole of an element changes from one of its allotropic form to another. For example, carbon, it is diamond, graphite. So when it changes from one state to another state, so that time we are calculating the change of enthalpy, that is called heat of transition. So carbon is example of allotropes, diamond when it changes to graphite. Okay, so delta H transition equal plus 13.81 kilojoule. Okay, next one, similarly, allotropic transition of sulfur and phosphorus also we can represent. So sulfur here, that is monoclinic sulfur, it can converted sulfur rhombic. Delta H transition equal minus 0.067 kilojoule. Next one is phosphorus, white phosphorus, it's a allotrope of phosphorus converted to red phosphorus. This is another allotrope. So this time delta H transition equal minus 4.301 kilojoule. Okay, so that's all about the application of heat of combustions. Okay, so next we will see Hess law. Now we are going to learn about Hess law. Hess law. Okay, see, this law states that the enthalpy change of a reaction either at constant volume or constant pressure is same. See, the enthalpy change of a reaction either at constant volume or constant pressure is the same whether it takes place in a single or multiple steps, provided the initial and final states are same. See, the enthalpy change of a reaction either at constant volume or constant pressure is the same whether it takes place in a single or multiple steps provided the initial and final state are same. See here, a reaction, consider a reaction takes place from, so a reactant converted into B. This is, here we are getting delta H reactions, okay. So this is one step, this is single step. Sometimes this reactant can form an intermediate, that is X. So this we can represent delta H1. This X may form another intermediate, that is Y. This is delta H2, that is change in enthalpy 2. Then finally this Y may be produce this final product B. So this is single step, okay. A to B, that is single step, and this is called multiple steps, okay. So this is delta H3. Now the value of delta HR is equal. So the value of delta HR equal delta H1, the sum of delta H1, then delta H2 plus delta H3. So what the values are coming in multiple step will be equal to this single step. That is the definition of Hess law. So the enthalpy change of a reaction either at constant volume or constant pressure is same whether it takes place in a single step or multiple step provided the initial and final state are same. So this is the definition of Hess law. Now we are going to see the application of Hess law. Application of Hess law. See, Hess law can be applied to calculate enthalpies of reaction is difficult to measure. Difficult to measure. So wherever it is very difficult to measure the enthalpy, we can apply the Hess law. Example, the measurement of heat of combustion when carbon, that graphite, when it convert into carbon monoxide. So this is pure form. So when graphite converted into carbon monoxide, it is very difficult to measure the heat of the reactions, okay. By applying this Hess law, it is very easy to measure. See, enthalpy of the oxidation of graphite. So graphite, when it converted into carbon dioxide, it is very easy. So the value of this conversion is delta H equal, the value is minus 393.5 kilojoule. At the same time, carbon monoxide converted into carbon dioxide also easy to calculate. The value is minus 283.5 kilojoule. But carbon to carbon monoxide is very difficult. So from the data of enthalpy of combustion, so we can calculate the enthalpy change of this carbon to carbon monoxide. So for that, so carbon CO2, then here it is converting into carbon monoxide, then this carbon monoxide finally convert into carbon dioxide. So this is delta H1 and this is delta H2 and this is delta H3, okay. So here that reaction with oxygen, here also reaction with oxygen, okay, and here reaction with oxygen. So in the case we can apply the Hess law, delta H1, so this carbon to carbon dioxide delta H1 equal to delta H2 plus delta H3. So delta H1 to delta H3. Now substitute the value delta H1, we know this is delta H1, okay. This is delta H2 minus 393.5 equal delta H2. Sorry, this delta H3 you can consider because the change of carbon monoxide to carbon dioxide is minus 283. This delta H2, so keep in, because we don't know, we are going to calculate, that is minus 283.5. Now finally delta H2 value you will get minus 110.5 kilojoules. Okay, so this is the way we can calculate carbon to carbon monoxide value. Okay, so this is called the calculation of heat of change in enthalpy of combustion to graphite to carbon monoxide. Okay, next one is lattice energy. Lattice energy, that is delta H lattice. Okay, so lattice energy, it is defined as the amount of energy required to completely remove the constituent ion from its crystal lattice to an infinite distance. It is also referred to as lattice enthalpy. Okay, so generally, for example, an ionic compound, that is NaCl, it is the lattice solid. We are going to split into ions by some of the force. It should be in the solid state. So how much energy is required to split into ions? That is lattice energy. See here, if you add water, then it is easy to split into ions, but from the solid it is very difficult. So we are applying some energy. So this NaCl breaks into Na plus ion, so gas, plus Cl minus gas. Okay, so lattice energy is defined as the amount of energy required to completely remove the constituent ions from its crystal lattice to an infinite distance. To infinite distance means the gaseous state. It is called lattice energy. Okay, so the delta H value is delta H lattice equal plus 788 kilojoule, mole power minus 1. Okay, so from the above equation it is clear that 788 kilojoule of energy is required to separate Na plus and Cl minus ions from 1 mole of NaCl. Okay, so 1 mole of NaCl we are going to split. How much energy is required? That is 788 kilojoule, mole power minus 1. So that much energy is required to separate this ion in gaseous form, right? So that's all about lattice energy. So next we will study in the next video, that is Born-Haber cycle. That is very much important. So we can expect that detailed question from that part. So far we have discussed about the applications of heat of combustion. So there are different calculations we have done. That is, first one is calculation of heat of formation. Second one is calculation of calorific value of food and fuels. Then third one is heat of solution. Fourth one is heat of neutralization. Fifth one is molar heat fusion. Sixth one is molar heat of vaporization. Seventh one is molar heat of sublimation. Eighth one is heat of transition. Okay, so these are the applications of heat of combustions. Next we discussed about Hess law. What is Hess law, define Hess law and its applications. Okay, so first we have to define Hess law and apply that Hess law mainly. So the calculation of graphite to carbon monoxide. Okay, so finally we discussed about lattice energy. Okay students, so that's all about today's lesson. So we will see the remaining part in the next video. Thank you very much.